Okay, you finished your heart and your bullseye, and now we're going to move on to a arrow. The first thing I want to talk about is I fixed the shape of my heart because it wasn't looking very good there. So definitely make sure that the shape of your heart is nice and smooth on the outside and doesn't have little points where your arcs come together. You want your arcs to flow nicely together where they had intersected. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to create a new layer, I'm going to name that arrow. Once I have my new layer, I want to make sure that I am selected on that layer, so that's the layer I'm drawing on. You can also lock your other two layers to make sure you're not moving anything or drawing in those. So I have my layer arrow selected. I'm going to come over here and draw a straight line out from the middle. You don't have to worry too much about the length of it. Get it outside the heart. Don't worry if you come out too far. We can adjust that later. And I'm going to draw it right about here. I'm going to drop it. I want to put the stroke to 10. And I'm going to come into stroke and I'm going to give it a cap here. A round cap. So if you come down here right now, you have a butt cap. And if you give it a round cap, it's just going to make it look like it's penetrating the heart a little better here. So I click that, you now have a round cap on there. Okay, so I am going to, with my selection tool, select off of that. I'm going to go back to my line tool and I'm going to go to stroke and I'm going to go back to butt cap. So now what we want to do is we want to do the feathers on the end here. So I'm going to zoom in by hitting Command plus. And I'm going to come to find the anchor point here. Make sure you find the anchor point and don't start your line down here or up here. You need to be starting it on the anchor point. So I'm going to drag my line up here. If I hold the shift key down, it will snap to points. Okay, so straight, 180, 45, and 90. I'm going to come out at a 45-degree angle here. I'm going to drop. I'm going to make sure I'm on this anchor point. I'm going to come in straight line. I'm going to drop. Now, you could go from this anchor point, hold the shift key down, and try to drop it onto this path. Sometimes that can be a problem, and if you zoom in a little more, you'll notice that point isn't directly on the center of that line. So what I find the easiest is if I delete that line and I click on this, which is already matched up with the center of that and over there on that anchor point, and I click and drag, and if I hold the shift key, it'll drag it straight out, and if I hold the option key, it will hold it, or it will copy it, and I just drag it out until it intersects at the end there. I'm holding the option and the shift key. I let go of my mouse first, then I let go of the option and shift key, and it just copied that line over, and it have my anchor points lined up there, and my anchor point here is directly on this path. So I have the outside of my feather done. I now want to draw two inside feathers. So I'm going to hold the shift and option key again. I'm going to drag it in here, anywhere, and do the exact same thing. Now, these are all over the place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a line through all of them. Just have all four of these selected. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to distribute center. Okay, so I have what I want selected, and then these are going to align it for me, and when I click on it, it aligns everything center. So now that these spaces here are nice and equal, I want to click on these two. I'm going to hold the shift key and select the second one, and I'm going to change the stroke to 4. So I have the outside of my feather, I have the two internal lines here, and I want to join the outside here. So I'm going to select all three there, go up to Object, Path, and Join. If it does something funny, it doesn't come to a point, or another jagged line shoots out somewhere, then something went wrong, and we want to fix that. So now I have the top part of my feather. I want to select this whole thing. I want to come over here to my reflect tool, which is underneath my rotate tool, and I want to reflect it from this point. So I'm going to hit option, click. My option menu came up. I want to do horizontal. Okay, you could do angle if you want. Horizontal. Make sure preview is there, and I want to copy this. So I now have a full feather. I want to join the outside of this, so I'm going to hit the V key to bring up my selection tool. I'm going to I'm going to click off. I'm going to click, and then I'm going to shift click the outside of my feather. I'm going to go object, path, and join. Right now, this space right here, it looks white, but that's just because my page is white. I actually want to fill it with the color white, so I'm going to select it. I'm going to come up here to fill. Right now it's on no fill, and I want to give it white. So you go, oh man, the inside of your feather disappeared. Well, if you come over to your layers palette, the reason it disappeared is because this outside the feather, which is filled with white, is on top. If I start dragging it down, whatever is above it will start showing. So if I drag it all the way down, everything is on top, and I can see that, and the white color fill is in the background. I'm going to zoom out by hitting Command minus. And now, instead of keeping this arrow going in at a 90-degree angle, I'm going to rotate it up. So I want to select the whole arrow. If I click this little meatball here on my layer, it's going to select everything in that layer. I'm going to come over here underneath my reflect tool. Now is my rotate tool. I want to rotate from this point, so I'm going to option click on that point. If I did a positive 30, it's going to rotate down. I want to rotate it up, so I'm going to put a negative in front of it. I'm going to preview it. That looks like what I want, and I'm going to hit OK. If I hit copy, I'm going to have two arrows. So I have rotated my arrow up. It's coming in at a 30-degree angle. I have my feathers. Notice that white fill now, I cannot see through and see my heart beneath that because of the white fill. If you didn't white fill it and you left it no fill, then you would see the heart underneath it, and that's not what you want. And that is how you do the arrow.